What's up with it, King? What's up with it, Queen? You already know who it is. Look, it's your big brother, Mont Pope, aka Mr. Purpose over pointless excuses. Yeah, listen, you are now tuned in to the Live in Purpose podcast. You already know who we got. We got Brad Butler the second, aka B Rad the Great, sitting over there beside him. We got Logan Taylor, aka Why Be Normal When You Could Be Extraordinary. And you know we can't forget Cornelius Shackelford, aka Cornelius the CEO, and together we are the Fantastic Force. You already know what time it is. We want to thank you all for checking in live with us. Look, if you haven't already, we need you to subscribe to the podcast channel right now. We need you to like it. We need you to share it with about 5 or 10 people who you want to see live in their purpose. But look, that's enough from me. What I want to hear is how everybody doing today. We're going to shift it up. We're going to start with Brad Butler the second today. We want to know how you doing, Brad. I'm not going to tell them why I'm starting with you. We'll let it, if you want to share it, we can share it. But how you doing today, bro?
Bro, I'm good. I'm gonna go ahead and just say and get it out the way. So today is my birthday. So
Yeah, happy birthday, Brad. The four way, you dig what I'm saying? Happy birthday, the fourth way. You feel me?
right. So that is actually why Logan is here. He flew out so he could spend a couple of days with me for my birthday. Him, with my wife and my son. So we're gonna have a good time, go out to eat and all that good stuff, and just politic, talk about business and everything, talk about life, for the most part, because my wife will kill me if I'm sitting there just talking about business the entire time. So, we got to talk about life and different things, our strategies, all that good stuff. But yeah, it's all good, bro. I'm just thankful for another year. Thankful to have my brothers, thankful business is moving in the right direction, thankful for God's mercy and favor.
Listen, Brad, I love it, man. First of all, again, officially on the show, allow me to allow us to wish you from the Fantastic Force a happy birthday, bro. You know what I'm saying? And you said something, it's significant because you're working on your birthday. You know what I mean? And I can relate to that because when you love what you're doing, you never have to work a day in your life. And shout out to our brother Logan, aka Mr. Pull Up. In case you didn't know, I forgot to let y'all know that Logan is Mr. Pull Up. Logan definitely pulled up for me on my birthday last month on the 25th. So shout out to you, Logan. We want to know how you feeling at this point, bro, because you are valuable to everybody in this family right here.
Mentally, bro, like now after having a conversation yesterday with Mike, man, I'm probably about an 8 mentally. Before the conversation, I was probably at a 3, and I was struggling mentally, right? Like I was strong physically, you know what I'm saying? I was strong spiritually because I spend my time with God in the morning and throughout the day and stuff, but mentally, bro, like just there were a lot of moving pieces, you know what I'm saying, and it was bearing on me and wearing me down, and I just needed that moment for somebody to pour back into me, you know what I'm saying, because I'm always pouring out to other people. I'm always, you know what I'm saying, my cup is always overflowing, you know what I'm saying, and so because it's always overflowing, I want everybody that I'm connected with to feel loved. I want them to smell their roses while they're still here. I don't want to give you your flowers while you're at your funeral.
Come on.
Right? So I'm here because why? It's Brad's birthday, and Brad was like, "Yo, bruh, I don't celebrate my birthday, bruh. Ain't nobody ain't nobody, you know what I'm saying, done nothing for me or pulled up on me. Oh, don't worry about that. That's the last time you gonna say that."
Yeah.
He said, "What?" I said, "Bruh, don't even worry. That's the last time you gonna say that. Don't even worry about it. Send me the closest hotel to your house."
Yeah. I love it.
Right?
I love
And
it.
so for me, it was just like, all right, Lo, like I needed somebody to pour back into me because I was, you know what I'm saying, I was feeling a little fatigued. And so now, bro, I'm at an 8, bro, mentally. And I'm good, man. Like I'm really good. And so I'm just learning how to do a better job at being intentional with myself, right? Like not on the outside, but more so internally, right? Like doing things that make me that bring me joy. You know what I'm saying? Whether if it's buying a pair of shoes or listening to ocean sounds or you know what I'm saying, going and do some type of self-care, like just being real intentional with doing that because that's where I've been lacking at these past few months is taking care of me. And so, like I said, talking to Mike and just really navigating through those emotions and navigating how I feel and being intentional with my self-care. So that's where I'm at this week.
I love it, man. The thing I like most is the shift from the 3 to the 8. You see what I'm saying? Like I like to highlight something out of everything, and that's what I want to highlight. Throughout the transition, throughout the roller coaster, you shifted from a 3 to a 8, and it was just a conversation. You had a conversation with Mike. You had to be poured into, because as we see, obviously, right, in being Mr. Pull Up, you always pulling up, meaning that you pulled up on Brad so that you can, guess what, solve a problem, so you can fill a void, like so that you can make sure he never can say forever that nobody's ever pulled up on him for his birthday or nothing like that. So in that, it's only right that those who pour out be refilled. I'm gonna say it again. It's only right that those who pour out be refilled. So as you live in your purpose, Logan, right? Living in your purpose allowed you to give Brad an experience on this day that is his birthday, right? That he's never experienced before. So you guys are where we are all witnessing history right here in the making, live on the Live in Purpose podcast with the Force. So I think that's beautiful, because in living your purpose, right, you, God didn't leave you forgotten about, right? He's never left the righteous forsaken. And by you being selfless, going to pour into Brad, God made sure he reserved the phone call appointment for you to fill you up, to shift you from that 3 to that 8. And I want the viewers and the listeners to know that. And in case they haven't by now, that'll be a good reason to hit the subscribe button, right? That'll be a good reason to hit the notification bell. That's a good reason to hit the thumbs up, right? That's a good reason to share this with somebody, because somebody just missed that message, and I want you to make sure they catch that blessing. So look, Cornelius, we see how Brad doing on his birthday. We see how Logan doing. I want to know how you doing, bro. Talk to us.
Man, I'm good, man. Just spending a lot of time with family. But I had to make a shift this weekend, right? This weekend I spent a lot of time with family. But there was something on my schedule that I had worked to get on my schedule with a certain, university for about 2 months. I've been trying to work this thing on my schedule. And they said that they could have a meeting on Saturday morning. I'm like, bet, you know what I'm saying? Running, like, let's make it happen. I've been working for this for a while. Well, I lost track of everything that I was doing, right? Had so much going on, had to wake up, did my morning routine, and then we was driving 2.5 hours away, to do a lot with the family. And lo and behold, I just lost track of my schedule, right? Because I put this on my schedule in a space that I normally wouldn't do it. But still on me, right? I'm usually always like, I'll just make it happen no matter what. Well, I missed the meeting. And I'm like, fam, cannot happen, right? And I started scrolling back, doing some self-reflecting. Right. And we had a great time. Family was, phenomenal. I got to see my younger sister, my nieces and nephews I ain't seen in a while. So it was a phenomenal day. And it was my baby girl turned 5. So I got to get all the family together and, you know what I'm saying, kind of do something for everybody. And, so it was a great time. But the whole time I'm like, dang, like, this is a part of my life professionally that I should be done with, if that makes sense. Like, you know what I'm saying? I shouldn't be like overbooking myself and overworking myself. It's kind of why I brought on a couple people that, to make sure it don't happen. But I'm the one who overbooked and overleveraged. And so I scroll back to something I wrote November 22nd, 2022. I'm all about like journaling and I write dates down, right? So I'm like, and I wrote down something that I felt like I needed, right? I was kind of doing some internal diving. I wanted to share it with you guys today. I was like, it's like, what is something that was a major pain point in my life? And I wrote down, I'm able to build and attract, but I'm not able to sustain.
Run that. Wait, don't even dare. Run that back for the people in the back and say it louder for those who ain't trying to hear that.
And I just want, you know what I'm saying? I know I'm going deep early.
Right quick, right fast. You know what I mean?
but it kind of ties into how I'm feeling, right? And I just had to reflect. It was back in 2022, November 22nd. I said I'm able to build and attract, but I'm not able to sustain. And this is when I was like, man, I was building. I was always been able to build. I'm always been able to attract what I need. But for some reason, I would build it big and then it would like fall. And then I go back up and then it'll fall. And I'm like, what is it about me that I'm able to build and attract, but I'm not able to sustain? And so I had to start like really diving deep and I kind of like had to reflect just on that one meeting. It's like something that I've been working to get for 2 months. And I thought back to that one moment and I started digging deep and I was like, all right, I need to make an adjustment. And so I've been, these last couple of days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I've just been making different adjustments to where, it don't happen. But that kind of took me from a 2 to a 3 to a 5, that not able to sustain. Right. And I had to work my way back up because I was able to retain that meeting again, yesterday evening. I was able to get them back on and like, hey, let's reschedule it. And we got it back on point. But I'm back at 8.
Okay. All right. So you back at an 8. Now, of course, I want to know where you're going to end up at. I see Logan got his hand up right quick. So before I even say what I'm going to say, go ahead, Logan. What's up with it?
No, I wanted to ask Corn, what made you like I know you said the meeting initially, right? Like that was the thing that made you look internally and to, you know what I'm saying, to look back to be like, hey, X, Y, and Z. But what was it that let me spin it this way. What was it that made you feel like you're not able to sustain? Like you can build it up, like you said, right? Like going through the roller coaster, going up, going down. Like I can build it big, but then it crashes, right?
Yeah.
And so what I wanted to ask is what was it that made you feel like, yo, I can build it up, but I can't sustain it, like you said? What was that?
Man, I've always been able to have big dreams, right? I've always been able to put together things that I want to do, and I've never been afraid to go out there with everything in me. And with that confidence and the way that I carry myself throughout the process, I've always been able to attract what I need, right, to get it off the ground and to have really fast success. But I never ever put the systems in place to sustain it. Okay. So I'm really good at building. I'm really good at walking in rooms and being able to own what I'm trying to do, and I'm really great at being able to articulate and then like put everything together and then be the driving force and execute at a high level. But at some point, you burn out when you a one man show. Like when I started the juice cleanse company, I started out with me fulfilling every order that came in, me doing customer service. Like if you ordered you were talking to our team, you were talking to me. You know what I'm saying? And so I had a time block where I would answer everything within like 5 minutes. Like our response, like on our page, it would say typically response within 5 minutes. And so no matter what, I would make sure that every question got answered, but I was building it in a sense in my mind to like, okay, when I actually hire someone to man this part of the ship, they can go back and look at every conversation I've ever had with every potential customer, every question that they've ever had, and I was documenting all that, but I wasn't actually putting someone in that space to do it. Does that make sense? So eventually, I mean, we did 60,000 in the first 90 days with me doing everything in the company. And then I burnt out. And then it's like, it's starting to slowly trickle down. Okay, let me get it back up. Okay, let me get back up. But it wasn't, I didn't have any systems in place. So like I had to like internally like, okay, what is this? Like, cause I've done this several times in several ventures. And so like, the underlying thing was systems. I just didn't have any systems in place. And then when I missed this meeting, it really put me, I need to look at my system again because I've hired a couple of people to operate in this space. But what is it? Did I not get them the right training? Like I had to start looking at like, what did I do to still put myself in this situation and why was it not caught? Right. And I start checking everybody's email. I'm like, okay, like something's broken. I need to fix it. but I really wanted to get them back to the table while fixing that stuff. So like it's just you just got to figure it out. Just looking internally and kind of seeing why stuff not working. And sometimes, most of the time, it's you, meaning it's me. You know what I'm saying? Like, most of the time, at the end of the day, I've done something wrong to where the ship is not running efficiently.
Gotcha. Go ahead, my bad, bro. I'm sorry.
Nah, no problem at all. That's what we're doing. We're having a conversation. You know what I mean? This unscripted, this live, that we living in purpose. This is what we're doing. So check it out. So it's not that you were incapable of sustaining. It's the fact that you didn't have the proper systems or the proper personnel in place to help sustain, right?
Yep.
I'm trying to make sure I got clarity, because when you said that you could build it, but you couldn't sustain it. And then Logan just asked you, like, what was it? Like, how did you know you couldn't sustain it? So the lesson that I want the viewers and listeners to know is sometimes we may be a little bit overcritical on ourselves. We may be a little hard on ourselves. Like you upset with you because you done overbooked you, but at the same time, you overbooked you perhaps because you wasn't allowing the system that you put in place to protect you do its job.
Yep.
You feel what I'm saying? You didn't let the system that you put in place, right, to keep you, right, and give you sustainability. You didn't abide by your own rules.
Yep. And the number one rule that I broke is I don't work on Saturdays.
Come on, y'all.
You know what I'm saying? But I was so eager to get this relationship in place that I was like, absolutely, Saturday, no problem.
So let's talk about that, right? And I love how the conversation is organic, because it's like, okay, first of all, you violated your own rule. So there's a lesson in that, right? First of all, you realize that you could build a situation, but you need help to sustain it, right? You need systems, you need personnel. Then after you build it, and then you put the personnel in place and you give them the standard operating procedures and allow them to do the job. So we learn that if we don't allow the system that we put in place to do its job, then we can still harm ourselves in the long run. Just because we made the rules doesn't mean that it's a good idea to break the rules, fellas. Is that what we learning today?
Yeah.
I mean, when I heard that whole scenario that you just had, like, you probably one of the last people that I thought would break one of your own rules like that, because you are the structure person. Like, you are the one who always puts together the structure and all that stuff. So it's cool, but it made me think about, like, when I'm talking to students, like in school, and I tell them all the time, like, yo, don't get to the point where you want control so bad that you lose control over everything. You want control over.
Wait. Say that again. Don't get to the point to where you want control so bad. What did you just say, Brad? Run it back for the people in the back and say it loud for those who acting like they didn't hear that.
Yeah, like sometimes, like, we want control so bad over just one area, or control over your life in general so bad that you lose control over everything. Next thing you know, you're so dead set and focused on, like, oh, this isn't gonna happen. I'm not gonna let this happen. Like relationships. Oh, he ain't gonna treat me like that. She ain't gonna treat me like that. My job ain't gonna do me like this, that, or the other. And because you're so dead set and focused on that area, like, you're so focused on that one thing, you completely miss what you're supposed to be doing. You completely miss the mission. Like, and now you all over the place, and now you're looking around like, how did I get here? Like, how did this end up happening to me? Bruh, because you try to control everything. And you're not letting it organically work itself out. You're not allowing yourself to go through whatever growing pains you need to go through in order for you and whomever else is attached to the situation to grow as well. That's the problem. You want everybody to do things your way, right? And if that was the case, if you were capable of doing everything your way and you could handle doing everything, you wouldn't need nobody else. There'd be no reason for a team.
You know what's so bad about it though? With this situation, she gave me 3 different dates. Saturday was the first one. Then the next one was Monday and Tuesday. She gave me times for all of them. And I'm like, man, I just want to go ahead and knock it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just want to go ahead and capitalize right now. And like, I was like, I can get this done before I get on the road. Right. And this is like I said, it's completely against my rules, because Saturdays and Sundays are strictly for family. But I just broke my own rule and I put myself in a bind. I could have easily just said Monday is great within my parameters of my system.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think the takeaway is like, don't be so eager to you know what I'm saying, to build and create that you do break the system, right? And you put yourself in a bad spot to be able to, because then I spent Monday and Tuesday, the other 2 dates that I could have easily picked that fit. I spent Monday and Tuesday trying to get them back to the table.
Right. So you wasted time on Monday and Tuesday as you rested on the Saturday and Sunday. Logan,
Absolutely.
what's up with it, King?
So it's funny that y'all talking about that. Like Brad was saying, like you want so much control that you lose control over everything else. And what came to my mind when he was saying that, and even what Corn was just saying, was like, it's like driving a car, right? And you know, if your alternator is messed up, what's the first thing you check?
Say it again.
You waiting for us like we
If
mechanics.
I'm trying to see.
Battery.
Yep. Okay. Right.
Oh, you check the battery.
Right. Right. And so you know that if it's not the battery, then it's something else, right? And
Yep.
so what I realize is that if we, like Corn said, like I got certain systems in place, but I broke that rule because I'm like, yo, listen, I'm trying to get this over with. I'm hungry for this, right? And what I realize is that when we don't take care of, when we don't follow the system, right? It's like I said, when your alternator messed up, immediately the first thing we think of is it's the battery, right? And sometimes it is the battery, right? Sometimes it's not the battery. It may be something else. It may be some electrical issues or some problems, right? And I think that when we start to really understand and navigate and how to abide by the systems that we put in place that are there to protect us, right? Then we can come back and we can have those opportunities where it's like, hey, listen, I can't meet on Saturday, but I can meet on Monday, right? And who's to say like if Corn would have went through with that meeting on Saturday, who's to say that if he would have closed it or not? Right. But there may have been, if he would have did it on Monday, that probably would have been another $25,000 bag for him. Right. Why? Because he was following his systems. And so what I'm saying to you in all of that is that if you got the proper systems in place, don't try to bend the rules or don't try to break the rules because you so quick to try to get a bag. Right? Me and Brad was talking outside probably about 10 minutes before we got on, and we were just talking about like how people, like, you know, they come in and they try to, like, you try to flex like, oh, I'm doing so good, and then you want to flex in the community, right? Because you want people to acknowledge you. And I'm like, bro, you ain't gonna get nowhere like that because your heart not in the right place, right? Like, the reason why me and Brad connect is because he seen my heart first. It wasn't no, hey, what can I get from him, or what can I do for you, or what can you get from me, or what can you do for me? The first thing was, you seen my heart. And when he seen my heart, he was like, hey, Logan, listen, bro, I'm finna connect you to the next most important person to me, which was his wife. Why? Because he seen my heart, right? There were systems in place. And so I think that, you know, when Corn was saying like, yo, like, bro, I broke my rule. I had systems in place and I broke my rule because I wanted it so bad. And I think sometimes as individuals, bro, we forget the foundation because we ain't at the foundation no more.
Stay right there, bro.
You get what I'm saying? Like, bro, I'm not the reason. Like, let's be real, bro. The reason why I can travel the way that I travel because of the seeds that I sown when I first started. Right? Like, bro, I can take me, my girl, and my son and be like, hey, listen, we going to do X, Y, and Z. You ain't got to worry about nothing. It's taken care of. It's paid for. I can come up here and spend 3 or 4 days with Brad and his family and stuff like that and not have to worry about nothing and don't miss a beat. Yeah. Right? Even though I'm not at the foundation no more. right? I'm not at the foundation financially. I'm not at the foundation physically. I'm not at the foundation mentally, right? I'm still at the foundation spiritually because I'm gonna stay on, bro. I'm gonna stay on my knees, bro, because I know where my help come from. And so I think that, you know, people that are listening, they really need to understand, like, yo, like when I'm building this out and I'm building this foundation, bro, like I need to learn that I can't cut corners in order for me to get to the destination that I want to get to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, man, that part right there, that's why I said stay right there when you start talking about cutting corners, Logan, because in essence, that's exactly what Cornelius was describing. By him breaking his rules of resting on the Saturday and Sunday being for the family, because he was just trying to make that next play right quick. Because he said it like, I can knock this out right quick, and then before I get on the road, right? Sometimes we have a certain level of desperation, and that level of desperation, y'all, it forces us to act out of the boundaries of the rules of the system that we put in place, because the system was put in place, right, so that we don't operate in our own power, because operating in our own power, we limited. So we had to connect with other powers, right? So we have to leave the other powers up to the job that they're powerful at doing. But when we get desperate and we feel like, okay, we can take a shortcut, we can make this one more play before we get on the road, that's when the mistakes happen. Because like Logan said, what would it have looked like had you used your Saturday and Sunday for what it was supposed to be reserved for, and then Monday you had a meeting, and because doing the wrong thing or doing the right thing at the wrong time is still doing the wrong thing, right? So
Yeah.
you got to do the right thing at the right time is what we're saying. You got to do the right thing at the right time, because even though what you're doing, your intentions were well. Why? Because I'm trying to take care of my family. My intentions are well. Why? Because I'm trying to be proactive, because I got a little bit of time before I get on this road. I'm trying to knock this out, right? So I got a level of hunger. I got a level of desperation. And if you've been listening to Les Brown, he told you got to be hungry. So you feeling like I got to get this meal right quick. But the lesson in that is sometimes you just got to trust the process. Sometimes you got to trust the process. And I'm learning because it's hitting me personally, because it feels like, or it seems like we just jumping up on Cornelius and we talking about what he could have, should have, would have done. But see, this is a lesson that we've all experienced at some point in our career and in our life, personal and business. So it's hitting home for all four of us. So it's a moment of transparency. It's a moment of organic conversation, so to speak. Because what happens, guys, when we try to cut these corners, or when we try to make that one quick play before we get on the road, we try to help God, so to speak, instead of following the plan, instead of following the blueprint, instead of following the strategies, right? What happens is we end up delaying our own success, right? We end up delaying our own success because we've either made a mistake or a misstep, and now we got to spend that Monday or Tuesday, like you was talking about, Corn, that Monday or Tuesday that you usually would be doing something else. You got to spend that Monday and Tuesday reaching back, cleaning up what you messed up on the weekend, and you ain't had no business doing that on the weekend.
But let me share with you guys something, because I'm always, you know me, I'm an optimistic person, right?
Come
I'm
on, man.
always, you know what I'm saying, finding, and I tell my students, like, you know, there's always two sides to a coin, right? And so if it's good, if it's bad, there gotta be some good in it. If
Got
it's
to.
good, it gotta be some bad in it, right? And so I never seen a one-sided sheet of paper.
Come on, man.
Right. And so I always, you know, I'm always looking at it. So I always ask myself this question. I say, now I need to extract what I need and adapt. So I've
You got to do what you said. First of all, I'm trying to let my brain catch up to what you just said about adapting, but I'm still stuck on the two-sided piece of paper. Like what you say, you ain't never seen say that again, because I had never heard it put like that before.
Yeah, for sure. You ain't never seen a a one-sided sheet of paper. Like, you know, I asked the students the other day, like my mental health class, you know, like, and you know, I always try to get them to see that, you know, a lot of their traumas can be used for good, and at some point it will serve them, like it has served us, right? And so I wrote down on a sheet of paper. I said, if you sign this piece of paper, I said, I'll give you $1 million if you sign this piece of paper right up under my signature. Would you take it? Would you sign and take it? Yeah, absolutely. They signed a piece of paper and they took it. I said, now turn it over. I said, if you take this piece of paper, you owe me $5 million. So you just jump into stuff before you even get in the whole picture. But I always remember it's two sides to something. But so I always ask myself, now I need to extract what I need from this situation and adapt. Like it's something that, I always look at, okay, cool. That happened. I may have messed it up. I may have. But what can I extract from this and how can I adapt? What do I need to do? And so when I was adapting, it made me have to like dig deep on getting them back to the table. Right? Like when I had to like apologize like crazy, it's on me, right? Like crazy. And there was like 2 different emails. First email, they didn't respond to. So I'm like, all right, bet. I gave them 24 hours. I came harder the next email, right? And I got a rule, right? We don't talk about pricing unless you're on the phone with me. Right? Let's be on a Zoom call. We don't really talk about pricing. We give them the blueprint to the program. We give them everything it includes, and then we set a discovery call. And that's just the way that we do business. And it served us. And so I didn't really send them a proposal yet. And so now I'm like, full transparency. My email got to be sweet. I got to go deeper, right? And so it made me dig deeper into my intellectual gifts to be able to create an email that was full transparency, that had to be heartfelt. And I went through and sent them a proposal of the whole scope of our program, all the pricing, no hidden fee. I'm talking about everything.
Yeah.
And they hit me right back. Oh my God, these are the 2 dates that work for us. We love what you got going. We watched your video. We love you. Let's see how we can create this partnership and make it real. Yeah. So I learned something from it. So I broke my rule. And then after I broke my rule, I asked myself that question. Like, what can I extract from this and how can I adapt? And I did. And it made me rethink another rule that I had put in place. I raised my price on this proposal.
Wait, man. So
and they hit me back and was like, let's ride.
So breaking the rule, you learned something. Wait, first of all, you broke the rule, then you had to extract, then you had to adapt. Then in your extraction and your adapting, you realize, right, that you were able to raise the price. So what I'm saying, or what you saying, or what we think we hearing you say, is that sometimes, like when you write the rule, sometimes you got to go back and tweak the rule book. Sometimes you got to tweak the playbook, right? Like, listen, we didn't know that this conversation was gonna have another side of the paper. You feel what I'm saying? We was on one side talking about the breaking of the rules and setting the systems in play. But then when you're in this entrepreneurial grind, when you're in this purpose work, when you're living in purpose, sometimes you got to just be open to listen to something called the spirit or intuition. So perhaps your intuition was telling you to break your rule because intuitively you knew something was going to come out, perhaps that you didn't know, because in order for you to get something that you've never had, you have to do something you've never done.
And I want to blaze through something real because I don't want people to miss this part.
Come on, man.
My preference was for my team to never talk pricing unless I'm on the call, right? That's my preference. But what this taught me is that sometimes your preference will rob you of your progress.
Hey, man. I'll throw this phone at you, dude.
I'm just being real. Like, my preference was robbing me of my progress because, like, I was really cutting their legs off and under them to being able to move fast.
That's it. This is the end of the podcast.
No, hold on. Check this part out, though. You said something, right? Like, we talked about being desperate. And when you're desperate, bro, you make mistakes. You can't see your blind spots.
Yep.
When you figured the system out, bro, you was like, okay, I ain't desperate no more. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? And check this out. He raised his prices, bro.
Yeah.
That's I want people to really understand that and hear that. Corn ain't desperate. He hungry, but he not desperate. There's a difference.
Big difference.
Because if I was desperate, I would have
Huge
dropped my
difference.
price.
Like he's hungry. Bro, if you were check this out, Corn. If you was desperate, bro, you would have felt bad because you trying to get them back, and they wasn't acknowledging you that second time. So when you reached out to him on Monday, you said, yo, I need to dig a little bit deeper in my bag. Where most people, bro, they would have gave up.
Yeah.
Because they missed the meeting because you desperate.
Yep.
And because you desperate, bro, you like, yo, matter. This is the same thing we was just talking about, bro.
I got you. Listen, from what I'm hearing with all of this, like the whole thing that even popped the whole thing off, and we even got you into a situation like this, or any of us in a situation like that. So if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, yo, I dealt with a situation like that where I can't seem to let go of it, it's because you're a control freak.
Yeah.
When you're a control freak, like it's always going to lead to an issue. It's always going to lead to a problem because you're not that sweet. You're not that good. You're not that nice at everything that you touch in your business, where when you got your hand in everything going to turn to gold. It's just not going to work. Like you got to work on the areas that is your expertise, your specialty, so that boom, that thing can take off. But if you're a control freak, some things are going to slip through the cracks. Another part of that is, unfortunately, like listen, I'm trying to help you out. You're a good person, right? And you're trying to do the right thing. You're trying to do the right thing by your business, by your people, and all that good stuff. But even with you being a good person, right? Even with you praying every day and all that good stuff, listen, you can have the best of intentions, but the worst of execution. And it'll shut down everything that you got going on.
I got something. Hold on, B. You can have the best of intentions, but the worst of integrity.
And worst of integrity, worst of execution.
You going into that's a whole other podcast.
So I was just finna say like that. I was just trying to shut it down right quick after Cornelius then dug all in his bag. So now y'all talking about you know what? Let me find something to throw. I told y'all I was gonna start keeping something to throw with y'all. But what I want people to know on a serious note is you got to take the journey, man. Like you got to take the journey through the process. Like you can't keep standing on the sideline watching the double Dutch game. You got to eventually jump in. You can't be afraid to get hit by the ropes. Like you can't be afraid to even trip up. And honestly, you can't be afraid to fall. Because in order for you to get to a place to where you can be raising prices, you first had to get to a place where you had done it for free. And then you had to establish a price point. You had to establish value. And then after you established value, you created so much value for those who participated in the services to now you created so much value that when you raise your prices, the people say, you know what? I can do that because I've seen the video. I've saw the value that you add. I see what you're capable of, and we want in on that. It's only because you had to take the journey. You had to go through the process, right? You had to fumble. You had to drop the ball, right? You had to get content. You had to get knowledgeable, right? And in order to get all of that, you had to get experience and exposure. You had to have some level of integrity because you missed the meeting and you didn't give up and say, well, forget the meeting. You went a little deeper in your bag, a little deeper into your intellectual property and said, you know what? I need to go a little bit extra. I need to over deliver on this communication so that I know I don't miss this opportunity, but I capitalize and maximize off of this opportunity. That's integrity. That's integrity, and that's execution with integrity and intention. Yep. Y'all see how I just reached in the bag y'all didn't know I had. I just wanted to add to that, right? That was my little bit, my little 2 cents. Yeah. I'm done. Let me lean back.
I like that.
Now, but man, the only reason why, I was able to extract and adapt is because, bro, I started self-reflecting and I got deep and got to know me. And I said, I need to recognize my patterns.
But what does that look like, Corn? Because you talking about what you said you had to dig deep. So I don't want people to miss that, bro. Like I really want our listeners to understand, like, it's not as deep as they think it is. Right. You know what I'm saying? So like break that down when you said, YOLO, I had to look internally. Like, what did that look like? What was it? What steps did you take? You know what I'm saying? Like make it practical for the people.
Yeah, for sure. man, I had to like really just get by myself, right? I stopped listening to music. I stopped, you know what I'm saying? I stopped in engaging with people or things that really didn't serve where I was trying to go, right? And I started isolating myself. I started getting up earlier. And, you know, like I still get up at 5 a.m. and I'm in the gym by 5:30. But it's really so I can spend time by myself. Yeah, I like working out and it makes me feel good. But for me, that's that time that I need by myself, right? That's that time I get to actually strategize and plan and actually like, you know what I'm saying, really figure out what am I doing wrong and what am I doing right? You know, what can I change? Because if everything I was doing was working, I'd already be where I wanted to be.
Mm.
And so if you're in a space that, you know what I'm saying, you still got a lot of room to grow and your family's not where you want, you feel like y'all need to be, you feel like y'all haven't reached y'all potential, then you need to be diving deep every day. Like the book I just showed you, it's say every day I'm hustling on the front of it, and it's full. Like there's literally no more pages left in this thing. I start journaling every day, and I write a date on the top of every page. Like every page got a date on top of it. I got another book right here that's full. I just journal, bro. Like, and you start like writing down all the things that's in your mind. Get it out, spit it out, right? And then start like figuring out like what have you been doing that you've been compounding over time that's landed you in that spot? Like when I was playing ball and I was done, I went right back to what I knew. I went back right back to the oil field. I knew how to make money there. So I went back to, you know, this is what a lot of people do. You just go back to what you know how to do. And so I just went back. And that was even like it started to be this therapeutic thing because I was in a space to where I wanted to be better.
Yeah.
So even when I was swinging hammers, I was thinking, and I was, you know, I was fixing all these equipment. I was thinking, and I would be talking to people, and I would ask them questions, and you know, be talking about things that I want to do, and they either didn't understand or they thought I was annoying. You know what I'm saying? I was like, okay, I'm in the wrong space. And then I would go to the person that made the most money on location, which is the company man, and I look at him and be like, man, like, I don't know how old he is. I asked him, I was like, man, how long you been out here? He tell me like, you know, something crazy, like I've been out here since I was 18, 19 years old, young fella. You got a long way to go. And I'm thinking to myself, like, fam, I ain't trying to get there. I'm just trying to figure out how you still here. And you know, they say you make 20K a day. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm like, what? Like some gotta be broke. And so I would just ask questions, but I wasn't asking questions to be nosy. I was asking questions because it was really about me. So you have to first get to that space to where you just like want to grow more than you want air. Like I just wanted to grow and I didn't know how to grow. So I just asked questions. I asked people who I felt like may be in a better spot than me. And I asked them, either they was going to tell me or they wasn't. But most of the time, it never was what it looked like. And so I just kept going until I was I felt like I was getting some answers that was really relevant to the place that I wanted to go. But we can't be scared to ask questions and just be intentional about working on yourself. But you got to be honest with yourself because like there was some patterns that I was doing that, you know, wasn't serving me or my family. Like, and in order to like really recognize that, you got to first be honest with yourself where you are. Most people are walking around lying up to themselves. We got social media going crazy. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm somewhere I'm not. And you really start to believe it. Yeah. And so you never really can ever grow. You never can ever really have real progress because you won't acknowledge where you are. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah. I like that. Brian, what about you?
Oh no, man. When you start talking about like self-reflection and stuff like that, you know, that's my space right there. Like personal development, that's all me. And that's why I got certified in DISC assessment. So that I could, you know, because I was my first subject. You know what I mean? I had to work on myself first. And like I was thinking about myself being a high I and being gregarious and things like that. And I had to admit, yo, Brad, yeah, you're a high I, but that also means that okay, yes, you're creative. That's a positive aspect of it, but you're also emotional. You can be emotional, like your thoughts and your dreams can get away from you, and you won't put context to it and put a structure to it. If you don't, you got to reel it in sometimes. So you can't, your feelings can't be hurt if your wife says, okay, that sounds good, but how are we gonna do that? Or did you plan this or that out or whatever? And like you can't get an attitude with her. Did you plan it out? Did you think about those things? No, you didn't. Okay, go back to the drawing board and start thinking about those things. Start putting those things into perspective. So that's where I was at. So when I hear you talking about it, I'm like, yep, you in the right space. You doing the right stuff. You moving in the right direction. Because in order for you to, because with all of us, if you're building a team, you have other people around you that you're supposed to be managing, right? You have got to be the strongest piece. You have got to be the one who can actually motivate and inspire and teach all the other people who are part of your team. And if you're not in a good space, if you don't know yourself, how can you help another person to unlock their potential? You don't know you. I know me, bro. Don't put me on no computer and ask me to research nothing. That's not my bag. That's not what I do. But when it's time for the brainstorming and the coming up with ideas and being creative and stuff like that, that's me all day.
Right.
But so when it's time for research and stuff, I call my wife. Hey, listen, you got to research this for me. You got to look this up, like, because I'm gonna get lost in the sauce. So if you're going through life and you're not willing to make any changes, you're not willing to do any self-reflection, if you're not willing to actually admit that you have blind spots and you have areas that you could be advancing and working on in order to get better, bro, you're going to deal with the same problems over and over and over again. It's asinine. Like literally, it's the definition of insanity, because you're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Like you can look in your communities and see that there's other individuals who are getting the same results out of life every single year. And they have the nerve, the audacity to complain that they don't have any money.
Yeah.
That they don't have any opportunities. And the man is doing this, that, or the other. Listen, bro, I ain't got time for none of that nonsense. All I know is if I'm in a worse situation or the same situation that I am next year, I did something wrong.
Something in you. Absolutely.
It's something in me that was supposed to change. Yeah. If my marriage isn't better or like on the next level by next year, you know what I'm saying? Like it's something that I did or something that I'm not doing financially, spiritually, in my marriage, my relationships, my friendships. If I'm not advancing in all those areas, it starts with me. I'm the common denominator in every last one of those situations. But people are not mature enough. People are not willing to actually do that and like, you know what? Yep, I'm gonna start with me first. No, what they want to do, they want to point the finger at somebody else and be like, yo, you got to change. You need to do this. You need to offer me an opportunity. They don't got to do nothing for you. They ain't got to do nothing for you, bro. Like, but what I can tell you is if you work on yourself, if you become the best version of you, I promise you'll attract other people who are willing to work with you. You'll attract other people who want to invest in you.
That's a fact.
Who want to see you doing well. It's so many people that I got around me now, like who want to see me doing well. It's because I wasn't going out looking for handouts. I was actually just working on me.
Yeah.
I was just saying, yo, Brad, you don't do this well. Like you struggle in this area. You're like, you need to work on this, that, or the other. And when I started hitting strides and moving forward and doing better in those areas, people started to notice that. Why? Because people love execution. E.T. said it best. People, they worship execution.
Execution is worship. Yeah.
So when you can execute on a high level, and that just means, listen, there's a certain thing that you wanted to get done and you did it. And I don't care what it is. If you something as simple as you told your wife, okay, I'm going to go to the stores, I'm going to hit these stores, I'm going to get these items, I'm going to come back home. If you do that, the execution is worship because you did what you said that you were going to do. So now I know that I can trust you with other things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Demont, what about you?
Man, listen. Like when Brad said the fact that he's all passion, like I'm on the disc scale, I'm the high D, high I too. I'm all passion and I'm all results. I'm all ideas and I'm all people, right? And that's what makes my wife such an incredibly valuable asset, because she's like, okay, that dream is amazing, but how do we execute that? And the thing that I want to highlight most importantly is that self-awareness piece. Like we be willing to do the work that Brad is talking about. He's talking about the self-work. And in order for us to do the self-work, like we can't be insane doing the same thing and expecting different results. In order for us to know whether we're making any adjustments, like he had to know where he was at. So it's self-awareness. Like Cornelius has to know where he's at. Logan has to know where he's at. Demont has to know where he's at. Like being self-aware, right? Knowing where your strengths are, knowing where your weaknesses are. Like this is not just business information. Like this is real talk. This is a life skill in your personal, professional, in your relationship. Like you got to be willing to analyze. You got to be willing to analyze where you are. You got to be willing to do the strength, the weakness assessment. You got to be willing to do the swap assessment. You get what I'm saying? You also have to be willing to make the adjustment, right? You got to be able to extract the information that Cornelius was talking about, right? You got to be able to extract the information. What lesson do I need to learn? Like Brad said, if I'm the common denominator in all of these situations, then it's me that needs to change. So if I'm in the same place that I was in last year, then it's me. And that hit home because I'm definitely not in the same place that I was in last year because I did some different things. Now, the year prior to that, I found myself still in the same situation, but it's because I was doing the same things. I didn't do the extraction and then make the adjustment, right? But now I'm making progress, like Brad said, and other people are noticing. So, what I want you guys to notice as we wrap up with only about 10 minutes left, what I want you guys to notice is that as you live in purpose, right? Because this is the Live in Purpose podcast, right? As you live in purpose, we want you to analyze and critique your progress. Like, don't worry about what other people doing around you. Like you can't win a race looking side by side. You're gonna mess around and you're gonna trip and fall, and they're gonna pass the finish line before you. You get what I'm saying? So, what we want you to do, analyze your position, where you are right now. But first of all, you got to do what you're doing with intention. It got to be a reason. What's your purpose? What's your purpose for getting up in the morning? Cornelius said his purpose for getting up in the morning, he like to work out, but it's deeper than that. That's the only time he get by himself. So what's your purpose? Like, why are you really doing what you're doing? Like, why do you really have the friendships? Why do you really have the relationships? I get it. Why are you really listening to this podcast? Why are you really watching this podcast? Why do you really follow either of us or all of us on social media? What is it that you're looking to gain from us? What patterns or what is it about us says that you should follow us? And I need you to make those adjustments in your life because somebody else is looking at you. As you live on purpose, you're going to be propelling someone else in their position of destiny. So, Cornelius, what you got to say? Then we're going to go to Logan and Brad, birthday boy. We're going to wrap it up with you.
Straight up. So, do you guys know that only 4% of people actually go back and actually look at their notes when they're in like a growth setting? So say a conference or a mastermind, say we're going and really like, you know what I'm saying, diving deep and you're really trying to take your life to the next level in that day, in that moment. Only 4% of people actually go back and review their notes and actually start moving toward execution. So I mean 96% do not.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it's heavy though. But I'm picking it up.
It's heavy. So I said that to say, because I was telling y'all about dates earlier, right? And I was telling you the date, the exact date I wrote this in my journal. Yeah. I'm talking about 2020, right? And the reason why I write dates is to remind myself who I was on this day in this year. And I can go back and read it, and I can go back and track who I was, and I can see what my goals were. I can see what my family was and what my family goals were, and I can be intentional. But most importantly, I carry these journals around with me. I got 4 of them. And you talk about like 5 years of my life that at some point I learned something that I needed that can serve me long term. Mm-hmm. And so 9 times out of 10, if anybody's talking to me about anything, I can say, man, I remember studying that, and I think it was around 2021. Let me grab this one, and I'm gonna go find it. And I know that I take extensive notes, and I know that I wrote down like what I was doing, and so I can track it, and so I can go back and I can, you know what I'm saying, really put something together that's tangible. And only 4% of people do this. So it's a success hack right here.
Yeah.
If you just go back, and when you are being intentional, you be intentional by actually tuning in to when you are being intentional. Most people are only intentional for such a small period of time that it never even matters. And so I want them to, y'all asked me tangible. Logan said, give them something tangible earlier on how to dive deep in yourself. So I wrote down on December the 2nd, 2020, I wrote down family, personal, career, spiritual, and community. And then I asked myself 4 questions, and all of them. What's right with it? What's wrong with it? What's confused? And what's missing? And I wrote them all out. And personal, I said, what's right? Motivated. I'm motivated. Personal development. That's what's right. What's wrong? Systems, execution, and I procrastinate. like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I started like really diving deep. What's confused? Learn. This is funny. Right. Learn to master the art of silence. I talk too much. I'm probably doing it right now. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's just one of those things. Like I don't know how to. I'm trying to figure it out. But I've turned talking into revenue.
Right.
So like, I mean, and just being able to dissect that stuff. What's missing? Like personal discipline, accountability partner, organization. Like you just dive into some of that stuff and ask yourself real questions.
Yeah.
And then be honest. And that, I think that's how you really dive into, like, breaking down how to be more accountable to self.
Yeah.
Is, just write down the pillars that you care most about. Mine was personal, family, career, spiritual, and community. And then I just asked myself those 4 questions. And then I dove deep. And at the end of it, I had a very good analysis on Cornelius.
I love it, bro. It's the transparency for me, man. My man say, I just talk, man. He said, I'm probably doing it right now. You know what I mean? But and the fact that I love that part the most is because I find myself saying that the most. And it's like I used to get in trouble, like Mrs. Pope, DeMont won't shut up. Come get your son. He won't stop talking. He won't sit down. But now we realized that it's in alignment with our purpose. And Logan, we want to hear what you got to say, and then we want closing remarks from the birthday boy.
Just be intentional, man.
We didn't know you had so much.
I know it's just. I mean, it's so much, bro. But like, I mean, just to one. I'll say this. One key point is that if you really want to get somewhere in life, if you want to make an impact, if you want to add value, then you got to be intentional with doing the work. And for me, and what that looks like is that, bruh, I'm up at 5:30 every morning. You know what I'm saying? And it's me just with myself and God. No phone, bruh. No music, like none of that, bro. Like it's just me and God, bro. And I'm just very intentional, right? Even to the point where it's like, if somebody makes a mistake, like I'm so intentional, so I'm like, yo, did I wrong you? Like, what did I do? You know what I'm saying? I'm intentional, bro. Like showing y'all love, bro. Like I'm intentional, right? Like Brad said, like, bro, I don't celebrate birthdays. Who don't? What? Right. He was like, yeah, bro, I ain't celebrated birthday since I was a kid. Oh, well, that ain't happening no more. Yeah. Whether if I gotta pull up, or whether if you gotta come to me or whatever, like we gonna figure out a way to celebrate your birthday, bro, in whatever capacity that may be. You know what I'm saying? And so, bro, it's just that's what I want to say to our listeners is just being intentional. And once you learn how to be intentional, then all of those other areas in your life start to grow. You know what I'm saying? Because now you're not being, like Brad said early on, you're not being a control freak. Because when you're a control freak, you miss spots, right? And so I just think, bro, just really being intentional with who you want to be, who you want to become, how you're going to do it, and what does it look like. And so that would be my 4 things and my 4 suggestions for people when it comes to being intentional.
I love it. I love it. I love it. None other than B Rad, the great. What's up, King?
Nah, man. Like, if you didn't get anything from the whole conversation that we've had tonight, it's pretty simple. Have full control over the areas that you have control over.
Yeah.
And if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change the way you think about it. That's it. It ain't nothing deep, ain't nothing complex. I promise you, life will get a whole lot more manageable and easier for you to deal with. I'm not going to say that it won't be hard and you won't still have uh, issues that you're going to have to deal with, but it'll be much easier for you to deal with it, and it will be more manageable for you when you get to the point where you stop trying to control everything. Stop trying to control people and things and situations. You don't have control over that. You only control the things that you have control over, and don't give up control over the areas that you have control over. Don't you give your control to somebody else, and you still like that's for you. You were supposed to be a good steward over that situation, and you don't want to do it. You want to give it up because you feel like it's easier to do it that way. Don't do that. Take full ownership and control over the areas that you have control over. And like I said earlier, if you don't like something, change it. And if you can't change it, change the way you think about it.
Hey,
Yeah.
Demont, hold on real quick.
What's
Can
up,
we y'all know I'm silly, bro. But
What's
can we sing happy birthday to Brad,
Can we
bro?
not?
And look,
Hey.
I got the phone right here, bro.
Hey, bro was at the restaurant for my birthday, man, trying to get the folk to sing happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Let's go, man.
Happy birthday
Birthday
to
to
you.
you.
Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday to Bradley.
Happy birthday
birthday
to
to
you.
you.
Hey, that's that 3-part tenor. I don't know what we sound like harmoniously, but listen, we want to thank y'all for tuning in to the Live in Purpose podcast as we celebrate Brad Butler as they on live right now. You understand what I'm saying? Shout out to Logan Taylor, aka YB Normal, when you could be extraordinary. Shout out to Cornelius Shackelford, aka Cornelius, the CEO. And you already know we got to shout out the birthday boy, Brad Butler II, aka B Rad the Great. And you already know who I am. It's yours truly, Big Brother Mont Pope, aka Mr. Purpose Over Pointless Excuses. Yeah. And together, we are the Fantastic Force. We'll see y'all next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget to live in purpose. Yeah.